welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about the frugal habits that I actually love doing, and even though I'm on a debt-free journey right now, these are things that I find so enjoyable I would do even if, I didn't have to. The first frugal habit that I love is making simple meals at home. I live by myself and I haven't always been the best cook. So not having to impress anyone else, just making, sometimes the same thing for a couple of days in a row, I find it streamlines just my whole day and it just makes everything easier. Another frugal habit I love is going to the library for books instead of buying them. I'm a professional writer and a published author, so buying books was always very important to me. I felt like I was, encouraging fellow authors. Now that I'm on a frugal journey, I do get my books from the library, and I find that to be just as rewarding as buying them. When one of my holds finally comes in at the library, I get such a dopamine hit. It's almost like having a book come in the mail. I also find going to the library reminds me of my childhood. My grandmothers would take me to the library all the time, and it makes me so happy being there and getting to read as much or more than I was when I was buying my own books. Number 3 is decluttering my stuff and not buying anything new. I find that getting rid of the things that I'm not using and also shopping my own apartment before going out and rushing to buy something has been a great way to get to know the things that I really need and really pare down the things that I don't. And even if I didn't have to shop my own apartment, I think that this sort of minimalist way of living will stick with me for a long time. The next one kind of relates to the last. It's selling things that I no longer want or need. The same thing, not having as much stuff in my apartment and only having things that I know that I use and love. It's such a great feeling. Number 5 is living in a small apartment. I used to dream of having one of those really big, multi-level townhouses or what have you. Now I live in a micro studio apartment with a Murphy bed and I love it. I honestly could not see myself living in a larger space, and if anything, my next place I would love it to be even smaller, and maybe even one day I would live on a sailboat. That's how much I enjoy kind of just having my own tiny space to call my own. It's easier to clean. It brings me such a sense of peace. I don't think I would go back to living in a larger space. The next one is gamifying budgeting. Right now I'm working on a smaller budget because I'm trying to pay down an enormous amount of debt that I have, but knowing exactly where my dollars are going and how much I'm able to invest, or in this case, put towards debt, it feels very empowering, and it's something that I will always do no matter what my income level is. The next one is using all of something before buying something else. So I guess there is kind of an undertone of minimalism here, but for example, I would never buy a new lipstick or even a new nail polish before finishing one that I already have. Likewise, something else that I'm doing is not buying every ingredient needed for a recipe that I'm working on. When I'm in the kitchen, I just make use with what I have. In fact, it took me a few months before I even bought salt and pepper. I think that there's something really nice about cooking minimally and not rushing out and buying, a big bag of something when you might only use a small portion of it before realizing that the recipe doesn't work for you. Number 9 is not drinking alcohol at home. Like I said, I live by myself, and by no means judgment, but for me personally, I don't really enjoy drinking by myself. I think it's more of a social thing. So cutting out alcohol at home, and also not necessarily getting a glass of wine or what have you with every meal when I'm eating out or hanging out with friends has been huge in cutting down my overall cost of living, and it's something that has made me feel so much better. I feel like I have more energy, I'm not groggy in the morning, so that's something that I would keep doing even after I didn't have to. Number 10 is watching YouTube videos instead of having a ton of subscriptions. At the beginning of my frugal living journey, I cut almost all of my subscription services, and now I find myself mostly watching YouTube videos as my form of entertainment. I've learned so much from it. I feel like I can connect with creators in similar situations as me, and watching as much YouTube as I have honestly is what inspired me to start this channel. Number 11 is learning to swim at the community pool. Something that I don't regret spending money on in the past was a personal trainer, just because I found it really difficult to feel comfortable at the gym. Now that I am more comfortable in my body, switching to cheaper alternatives, such as, you know, taking swimming lessons at the pool that has the same, you know, mommy and me lessons going on next door. It's something that I found very beneficial, fun, and it's a great way to connect with the community as well. I've made a couple of friends that way, and it's something I would stick with. Next thing kind of ties in with the last, and it's going for walks. So instead of having an expensive gym membership, I just make sure to go out and get my 10,000 plus steps in every day, or as frequently as I can. It's free, and it's a great way to, you know, get some vitamin D, you know, explore the neighborhood, listen to a podcast. It's something that I really enjoy doing. And the next one is taking public transport as my main means of transportation. I'm still working on getting my driver's license, so owning a car isn't really an option anyways, but I love taking public transportation. It's a great way to kind of, you know, go inward. You can read a book, you can listen to a podcast, you can watch the scenery passing outside. Even when I'm traveling, I prefer to take public transit over, you know, taking a taxi or what have you. I think it's a great way to get to know a neighborhood and a city. The next frugal habit that I've really enjoyed is doing self-care at home. I used to be really into going to the spa for things like pedicures or, you know, facials and stuff like that. And well, I have to say I do miss some of the aspect of self-care in that respect. Figuring out how to do it at home is very rewarding, and it's so much more relaxing than having to schedule, show up for, and pay for something at the spa. I love going into my bathroom, setting a nice mood, you know, putting on a fun playlist, and then doing my own nails or, you know, taking care of my own skin. I'm also pretty low maintenance, so for me, that hasn't really affected me, and I think I will stick with doing everything at home moving forward. And the last one that I really love is working on new skills in order to take on additional work in the future. Something that I'm doing right now is studying Turkish. I have a tutor that I see on a weekly basis, and I do some of the apps like Duolingo. I also translate poetry from Turkish to English just for fun. And before that, I mean, I've studied French my whole life. I live in Canada. But working on feeling more comfortable with conversational French has been something else that's basically free that I enjoy doing. And I will stick with that in the future as well, just because it feels you feel very accomplished when you notice yourself picking up on things that you weren't able to before. I highly recommend learning as many languages as possible if that's something that interests you. Well, there you have it. Those are the 15 frugal habits that I absolutely love doing and would do no matter what my income level is. I hope you enjoyed or found something that you might be able to implement into your own routine, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!